Hey, it's Joni. Welcome. Today I wanted to talk about my least favorite Stephen King books, just for the fun of it. He is my favorite author, and books on this list aren't necessarily books that I think were bad or disliked, especially. Most of his books, even if I don't love them, there's still things about them I like. I really like his writing. So I'm not saying these are bad, and I'm not trying to encourage you not to read them, because I do know there are books on other people's least favorite lists that I absolutely love, and I know that there are books on this list that are some other people's favorites. Um, so yeah, I'm not trying to say that. This is kind of just for fun. A couple other quick notes before I get into it. I haven't read all of his books. I read about like 2/3, a little over 40 of them. And I am not like just reading ones that appeal to me, so it's not like the other 20 some or whatever are going to be like some of my least favorites too or something. I am kind of trying to like spread out ones that I'm interested in, and there are ones that I've heard fantastic things about that I haven't gotten to yet. So this list could change, clearly. I mean, he's still writing besides that, but yeah, and the last thing is that I tried to cull this down to 5 books just to, I don't know, just for a quick fun video, and I failed. I actually have 6 to talk about now, and I could have easily come up with more, because yeah, like I said, these are my least favorites, not like the ones that I think are bad or anything, but I did, there are a few that I found really hard not to put on this, and that's all basically because of the Bachman books. Of the original 5, I love The Long Walk, like that's one of my favorite books ever, but the other 4 I'm not a big fan of. But I did read the first 4 all like back to back, and that may have had something to do with it. Maybe if I gave them more of a break, I don't know. I just didn't want to be too repetitive and talk about a bunch of really similar books basically. So instead I am just including his last original Bachman book, which is Thinner. And I was actually very excited going into this. Like, I'd seen movie portions of it at a really young age, and I remember just having a good, I don't know, I had like good attachments to the storyline, I guess. I do think it's a little bit tone deaf and maybe a little bit racist with the whole gypsy curse thing. But I did know about that going into it, and that was a thing that I'd known about since childhood, so I don't know if that was a factor in me sort of having a bad taste in my mouth about this book, but that was basically my issue. I also remember thinking that it wasn't nearly as well written as a lot of his other stuff, but I think a lot of his earlier work wasn't. I think his writing improved generally over time, not necessarily his storytelling or his plots or anything like that, but just his writing in general improved. And since this is one of his early works, I could see, that could just be because of that. I don't think it's really poorly written. I don't remember being especially bored or anything with it, but it just really like left a bad taste in my mouth. The main character is just an absolute creep in my memory. It's been a couple of years. And it's just, yeah, it's a book that like gives you kind of gross feelings. It ends really creepily and gross. I do remember thinking that the whole like sort of mafia friend or mob friend subplot was a little weird, maybe not like especially well fleshed out or something. I don't know. I remember having weird thoughts about that. But yeah, this was just not one that left me especially happy. Next, I have a more recent read. These aren't in any particular order, by the way. One of maybe my most recent, no, maybe my second most recent read of his. Anyway, this also had some elements that I really enjoyed. I think the main character in this actually could have been a really good character in something else, or like this could have been shortened and made like a prelude to something or a portion of another book. But it's not a great novel on its own. The whole like cover and the little blurb there, or not blurb, whatever that is, would she learn the dead man's secret, is really misleading. It wasn't like a journalist trying to solve this crazy mystery. It was more like some of that old man mentoring and storytelling thing that King does once in a while to this like interning journalist at the newspaper they worked at. It did again have some cool elements. Like, I really liked the characters, and I liked it had the small main island thing going on with it that he also does sometimes that I absolutely love. The whole storytelling thing usually doesn't work great for me. I know some people love it. I know my husband loves it. But for me, it's usually kind of boring, and it was just them like these old guys kind of telling her a weird story that didn't have a solution. Anyway, yeah, actually, my like memories of this are a little bit fonder than they were after initially finishing it, so maybe that says something for it. It does have some great Stephen King elements in it, but it was absolutely lacking something. I did initially give this 3 stars and then go back later and drop it down to a 2 like a week or so later, so maybe I just can't make up my mind about this. Either way, not one of my favorites for sure. Next, I have Cycle of the Werewolf. So this I really think could have been done better as like a 12-part comic book series. It has some illustrations, some colored ones too, not just black and white, um, that are really cool and they add to it. But each little 1 month segment, it's broken into 12 months, 12, each moon cycle, the full moon in each 12 months of this one year. And the storyline was fine, and I like werewolves. I was excited to see Stephen King flesh out a werewolf, but I almost feel like this was lazy or something. It was just like a couple little pages of each month that for some reason I was bored about. Like, this is so short, it shouldn't have been boring. But it wasn't fleshed out enough. It either needed a whole lot more text, or I think it would have been cool if it had more images in the text, spread out across them like a comic book. But I don't know what this was trying to be. It's not like a short story, it's like 12 really short interconnected stories that make up one still really short, not very deep short story. Again, like it was cool. Maybe I was expecting the wrong thing out of it, and maybe on a reread I would feel different about this, which is probably the case for most of these books. But anyway, yeah, again, it was just eh. On to probably the most controversial one on this list, Misery. I know that this is a lot of people on a lot of people's favorites list. I don't know if it's a lot of people's like most favorite, but I know it's one of the higher rated. I can't find words today, sorry. And I do think the plot in this is really cool. It has a really great setup, but I just found it a little bit boring. I know it's really short too, so again, or I mean, 300 and some pages. It's not like it's a long book, it dragged on or anything. I just found it kind of tedious. Him plotting to get a hairpin to break out, to snoop around, to get back into bed before Annie comes back home. Um, it had so many awesome elements in it that I don't know why I didn't like it. The portions of Paul Sheldon's writing in there absolutely didn't help. He wrote these, historical romances, whatever, and I don't think Paul Sheldon is a fantastic writer. Sorry, Stephen King. Um, those parts didn't do anything for me except bore me a little bit more. I think maybe some of the issue was that, again, it's not some of his more advanced writing that I kind of prefer to some of his earlier writing, but also that I had seen the movie several times prior to reading this, so I knew the really cool storyline in it. This one does end differently, and the ending was fun, but by that point I was just ready for it to be over, so it didn't quite do it for me. I think maybe this was just a situational, circumstantial missing of the mark for me. Hey, so editing Joe realized I forgot to talk about one of the books. Is The Dark Half. Really similar to Thinner, which is ironic because they came out really close together along with Misery, and they're all kind of related to the Bachman books. Maybe there's a theme. Anyway, similar to Thinner, it just kind of left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Again, it had a really cool premise, the whole writer pen name coming to life and being evil and doing these things. It was a cool premise. But the whole like pomp, whatever. What are they called? Let me know. Hopefully someone watches this who remembers better than I do. Um, Pompa, whatever. Things in his brain. Again, it was kind of a cool idea, but it was just too weird in it. The whole thing kind of left, not as bad as Sinner, but it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. The main character was not a gross person like in Thinner, but I don't know. The whole thing was just kind of weird to me. Maybe again, it was just his writing at the time wasn't working great for me, or maybe he was just kind of angry about the whole being out at his Bachman thing, and it wasn't coming out in the most coherent way. Maybe that's me reading into it because I didn't love it. But yeah, I just didn't find a lot to like about this. Anyway, yeah, sorry for tacking this one on last minute when I'm not nearly as organized as I was a little while ago. But yeah, this is just absolutely, I don't know how exactly to articulate it, but not one of my favorites. And finally, don't shoot me anyone, I have the Gunslinger, the first book in the Dark Tower series. I am now through book 5 in this series, and some of the books in it are some of my favorites, and some of them are not. This one especially it took me several tries to read. I literally got like a quarter, a third, or half the way through the text in this twice, gave up both times before finally picking up the audio. It was probably over the course of a whole year of me trying to get into this, and it's really short. It shouldn't have been that slow for me. It's just written really dry, and I having not known the character really, and not therefore caring about him or sort of understanding where he's at. I was just bored by the barren landscape and the mysterious chasing of the man in black that I didn't know anything about, or it's just, it was a really bland background basically. I do think upon a reread, after knowing Roland and caring about him more and knowing more about the world and knowing more about the man in black and why he's chasing him and their history and all sorts of things, that I would care a lot more about this. I think this is really similar to why I think I didn't really like Gone Girl that much. If I like had a better appreciation for Gillian Flynn's characters going into it, I may have spent more time focusing on that than on the plot. Again, I was like looking for fun plot things or like for the character to develop, and Roland is just a really like stoic, firm, firm-backed character that it takes a little while to get to know him, I think. Anyway, yeah, this one, I don't remember any other book that I've given so many tries to before finally finishing. I do have to say, though, the audio quality of this is fantastic. The man who narrated the first four, I will insert his name somewhere because I can't remember it off the top of my head, is absolutely fantastic. He no longer can work because of an accident he had some time ago, but holy crap, he's a fantastic narrator. Sorry about that tangent. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'd love if you'd let me know down below what some of your least favorite Stephen King books are, or if you have read any of his stuff, what your thoughts are, what you're excited to read of his, what some of your favorites are, anything. I love talking about Stephen King. So, anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you all have a great day. Bye. This video is going to be kind of crappy to edit. Sorry, Editing Joe.